What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the home of Chrome, and as you can see, I am sitting here in the heavenly hearse, and today we're going to talk about what you can expect out of a 50-year-old car doing 1,300 miles in about 3 days. We're going to talk about the issues we had along the way to Hearsecon. We're going to talk about the repairs that we have to do to the heavenly hearse, as well as what we're going to do to upgrade, since some of those things can be upgraded. Follow along. All right, so first things first, let's talk about the big issue that I had with heavenly hearse on the way out there. So, as you all know, most of you may know, this car has a 472 cubic inch big block Cadillac engine. That in and of itself, not that big a deal. Talking about gas mileage, we'll get to that here in a little bit. I know when I filled up and did the math at first, I was looking at 5 miles per gallon, but I'd also had it idled a lot and in town driving around. Things like that kind of played into it. So we did the math on the way out there, and it wasn't too bad, honestly, for what it was. So anyway, the big issue that I had with this car was overheating, and man, did it overheat a lot. So with it being a big block engine, these 472s and 500s, they run hot just as they are. I'm talking, you're looking at 220 plus, just at their normal idle, their normal temperature is what I'm trying to say. Sure, there are some things you can do to get them to run cooler, like different radiators and all this other stuff going through it. There's things you can do. I haven't done any of that. This car is stock. So anyway, 4 or 5 times on the way out there, it actually overheated to the point to where I actually had to stop and address the issue where it was boiling over. All the water was coming out. It was an absolute mess. That trip's supposed to take about 6.5 to 7 hours. It took me a little over 12 hours just because of having to stop and wait for it to cool down and put water in it and find a place to stop. And it was a whole thing, man. It was something else. Anyways, so I was able to stop off. I was able to fill the system up, fill the cooling system up, and was able to burp it, and that got me the rest of the way to Denver. But then when I got to Denver, sitting in traffic, it was a lot of traffic, just stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, as Denver traffic is. I knew what I was getting into. It did okay. I got to where we were going to meet up for our Friday night procession, which I wish I had video of that, but of course, no. A lot of my good stuff was corrupted for whatever reason. I don't know. Been having an issue with that here lately. So we did the procession, or actually, let me start over with this. I got to where we were having the procession, where we're meeting up for that. I popped the hood, because I figure, hey, if I'm here, I might as well go ahead and pour some water in it just to make sure everything's good for the procession. Well, I go to put the hood down, passenger side hood hinge decides to go bad, so it now bends in the middle where it's supposed to not. So I can only get the hood up so far, and it has to be up with a prop rod, so I have to find a new hood hinge. So overheating 4 or 5 times, probably more than that actually if I sat down and thought about it. Hood hinge. Okay, so that's 2 things that had to be addressed. Well, hood hinges for these mid-70s Cadillacs are hard to find. You know why? Because of that reason right there, because they were going bad. So get to it did okay in the procession. Got to where we were going to eat, ate, left, went back to the hotel where I was staying, and it did okay out on I-70 up until I was about 8 miles away. And then it decided that it was going to start overheating again. Surprise, surprise, right? So I was able to get off onto the side of the road, but I-70 being what it is, it's kind of a dangerous place. It's everybody there is doing 75 plus, and I'm in a 50-year-old car that doesn't have a whole lot of power to begin with, and now it's overheating. I got issues going on, so I pull off to the side. I sit there for a little bit, let it cool down. But I was only there like maybe 5 minutes or so, if that. And I was like, screw it, we're gonna gun it and run it. And I took off, left. It was just one of those things where I had to make that decision. Do I want to be stranded there and wait for it to cool down? Or do I just want to go and get to where I know I can be safe and off the highway? So obviously, safety came into play. Heavenly did okay. She was still hot when I got there, but it was just is what it was. I was able to let it cool off overnight, went outside the next morning, serviced it up, drove to Hearsecon, which was only a couple miles from the hotel, so not too bad. And then got to where the show was. There's an Advanced Auto Parts across the street. So I went across the street, bought a new radiator cap, an alternator belt just in case, because it was squealing really bad. And then bought a couple tubes, or bought a JB Weld kit, and put the new radiator cap on it. JB welded it. Was able to run the car enough to get it up to temp to where I could pour water in it and burp the system. Why water? Why not coolant? Well, because coolant is expensive. And if I'm going to keep burping it, I'm not going to keep pouring it in. Plus, it's not cold, so the water's not going to hurt it. I just have to remember that this winter, when it starts to get cold again, I need to empty that system, put antifreeze in it. So, apparently that fixed it. Because on the way home on Sunday, last Sunday, I didn't have any issues with it overheating at all from Denver back home. Now, what I did have an issue with, though, was about 20 miles outside of Denver on I-70 heading east, the car shut off for like no reason. It just shut off. But what it was, the reasoning behind that is because the the HEI module, the ignition module, decided it was going to get hot and cut out. Okay, so I sat there for a little bit. I was able to get the car started up again, and we cruised off about 300 miles. That's when this trip took a turn for the worst. So we get to about the Waukene exit here in Kansas, and the car cut out again. All right. Well, I figured it was ignition module. Stop, let it cool down, and see if we can get it to restart. Well, we couldn't get it to restart. And of course, that's the one part that I didn't have with me that I knew I should have had, but I didn't go get it, was the ignition module. So I'm sitting there and I had to wait for 2 hours. 2 hours for a tow truck to show up. I don't even know what I paid AAA for. But anyway, 2 hours, tow truck shows up. He's like, oh, I don't know if we'll be able to get this on there or not, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, just put it on the truck. Let's go. So we got it on the truck, and man, you can feel every bit of this car on the back of that truck. So he takes me into Hays, Kansas to the Advanced Auto Parts. I'd called ahead, found all the parts that I needed. They had those waiting for me. I was able to pick them up. Went out to the parking lot, and about 10 minutes later, if that car was running and driving, because it was the ignition module. But I bought a module and a coil just in case. So I returned the coil, got the car, had it on. But I noticed that it didn't sound the same way as it did prior to losing the ignition module. And I thought, pulling up on the truck, I might have, knocked the exhaust loose or something underneath the car, because that does tend to happen sometimes on these long cars. But let me show you what happened. So yeah, that right there. When the ignition module cut off, there was a backfire. And yeah, it kind of blew up my exhaust, my muffler there. So now I've got to get a new muffler. And we'll go into that here in just a second. So yeah, since it was cool enough to blow out my muffler, I've got to put new exhaust on it, which I'm kind of liking the way it sounds with it being a little bit throaty. Of course, it's because of the blown out muffler, but I kind of like the way it sounds. So My friend Richard, you all know Richard, always helps me out with all my stupid stuff. Anyway, he's got a couple sticks of exhaust that came off of his one of his square body trucks. It has chrome tips and glass packs. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a glass pack on this thing, just to kind of give it a little bit more of a sound, you know. Why not make this thing more annoying than it already is? So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put glass packs on it. So that's cool. So we've got the overheating issue taken care of. We have got the ignition module taken care of. About 20 minutes south of Salina, this thing felt like it was starting to come apart in the front end. Like, I couldn't hardly keep this thing on the road. It was just so I'm like, well, okay, something's wrong here. And at the risk of, you know, causing myself an accident, anybody else an accident, I pull over, see what's going on. Well, I'll show you what happened. Yeah, y'all look at this craziness. Look. Oh, yeah, you see how it does? See how it does that? Look. So I went ahead and threw my old spare tire on. And when's the last time anybody's seen one of these? So this is a Cordovan Centron. This is a radial tire. It's a 235 75/15, which is what I've got all the way around. I don't know when this tire was made, but I don't think it was after 1980. Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, it held up. I've got to put a little air in it, as you can see, but I mean, it got us home. It got us home. So now I've got to get a new set of white wall tires for this car, since that's what I was wanting to do anyway, was get a set of white wall tires, which leads me to this. It's like, well, since I've got to put new tires on it anyway, why don't we church up the wheels? Okay, why don't we church up the wheels? We're going to clean these up. We're going to do a little something with them, make them a little bit more custom, if you will, to kind of go along with the vibe of the car. Because as you know, I've got these 1974 Fleetwood turbine style wheel covers with the dome. But here's the thing, I left with 3 of them on the car. I came home with 2. The other one's back there in the back. So these have got to come off. These have got to come off. I've got to do something. So what I'm thinking is we'll do like some chrome steelies with a what do you call it, with a beauty ring around it. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Maybe do a purple anodized. I really don't know. Comment down below what you think we should do. Should we do painted wheels to, you know, match the vibe of the car? Should I do something else? You know, what are we gonna do? That right there, this one here, this is not supposed to be loose like that, but it is. But I mean, all in all, yeah. Would I do it again? Absolutely, I'd do it again. In this car? Oh yeah, absolutely. Because even as tiring as that entire trip was, with the overheating and the constant mechanical issues, this car actually did really well. Now, most people wouldn't. I don't think most people would say that it did really well because of the issues. But again, guys, it's a 50-year-old car that I honestly really didn't put a whole lot of trust into, because the last time I drove it on any length of trip was about 130 miles one way, so 260 round trip. It didn't do well. It kept shutting off, which I'm attributing to the ignition module was getting hot and shutting off, but that has since been replaced. It was just, you know, it was just problem after problem. But I think we've got a lot of those issues taken care of, which I really hope we do, because that would be very cool. You know, if I had people around here that wanted to go to Hearsecon with me next year, you know, I've got another car they could drive if they want to take a hearse, if they want to drive a hearse out. You know, it'd be fun. So anyways, that's where we are with this whole thing. 50-year-old car, about 1,300 miles in 3 days. It was a blast. I had a blast meeting new people, seeing old friends. Everybody out there loved the car. It won a trophy. In fact, it actually won Best Custom. And to win Best Custom out there says a lot, because your car has to be very unique to win a Best Custom at Hearsecon, because everybody puts their own little touches on their cars, and everybody loved Heavenly Hearse. You know, it was really cool for a lot of people to come up to me and be like, hey, you know, when I was a kid, I had the Heavenly Hearse model, or, you know, I've got the Heavenly Hearse model at home, or I've got the Johnny Lightning Heavenly Hearses at the house. It's the whole thing. You know, everybody loves this car because it reminds them of, you know, when they were younger, or just see the car that they have sitting on their shelf in person, like in a 1-1 type of deal. You know, it's pretty cool. That's the reason why I bought this car, is because it was actually cheaper for me to do this than actually go buy one of the kits. It was just ridiculous, you know. It's just crazy like that, but everybody loves a car. So anyways, I think that's probably going to do it for this episode here. Just kind of want to talk to you about what we have going on, where we're at, what our issues were, and kind of give you guys an idea of what it's like to take a 50-year-old car on a road trip like that. You can do it, but you got to be prepared. I would do it again. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. So anyway, if you like what you're seeing, you're loving on the Heavenly Hearse, like, share, subscribe, comment down below. It really helps out the channel. I can't help but notice that on average, 80% of the views come from non-subscribers. Subscribe, you know, hit that little bell for notifications, because I try to put out a video at least once a week. I know I've been kind of slacking here lately because I've been getting things ready, and it's been a whole thing. Anyway, I try to put out videos regularly, and yeah, I've got other stuff. I've got that 70 Cadillac that I need to get running. I've got the Rolls Royce I need to finish up. I know you guys are waiting to see that, and I just got a lot going on. So like, share, subscribe, comment down below. We'll see you guys on the next one. Talk to you later. Bye.